everyone. It is October 4th, 2021, 6 p.m. It is time to call the Franklin City Council meeting to order. Ms. Rose, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
All recording is on.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship?
Here.
Mr. Hukin?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. McGinnis?
Here.
Mr. Rainierson?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am.
If I may, for purposes of those persons that are in the audience, the governor signed the executive order of 2126 on Friday that allows members,
Sarah Payne, just join the conference.
allows members of the council to appear remotely. Along with that are certain requirements, so that any votes that you take tonight will be an individual roll call vote as required by that. The Jane, the clerk treasurer, will also be required to take notes of who was on the call, what was done. And I also understand from talking to the clerk treasurer's office that copies of the minutes, as well as the recording of the prior public hearings that were conducted at the last meeting have been circulated to the two individual gentlemen that are on the phones, and they have listened into the entirety of the public hearing. So I'm going to provide information for
One correction.
Yes,
Chris was the other one.
and he's here in person.
And I did listen to it.
And Danny, who's on the phone,
Was here last
was
week.
here last
All right,
night.
and Ken is not, and you were also on the planning commission.
Yes, correct.
You've
I've heard it several
so
times.
I just want to make sure for the record that everybody is fully informed. Additionally, I might as well get this out of the way. Additionally, there have been numerous submissions by members of the public, as well as the commissioner on some of the things tonight. Anything that's been submitted to the city officially has been circulated to all the members of the council. So that information will be given to each council member, whether it was through email or by petition and or by letter. So we are prepared to proceed, sir.
Okay, with that, I'll ask Mr. Brian Reese for the prayer and pledge, please.
All right, invite you to join me. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening with thankfulness and gratitude for another day of life and the freedom that we have to assemble here at City Hall. And as the business of our city is considered and decisions are made today, I just thank you for that privilege. I pray that you be with those who are on our council and our mayor as decisions are made. I pray that you give them divine discernment. And I pray that they would make the decisions on the behalf of what is best for our city. And I pray that you give them direction for that. I thank you so much for our city. Thank you for all our public servants and our first responders. Continue to provide and bless them with safety and health. I pray that you be with our armed forces as they protect us as well here. And we thank you for that. Thank you for everything that you've blessed us with. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Why don't you stand with me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is a slight delay. So, lots of patience.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, Brian. And thank everyone again for attending. Is there any announcements, presentations, or public comment that's not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to submit before the council, because this is actually the first time we've come, but I would like to propose an expansion to the noise ordinances, if I could,
To the what?
to the Franklin noise ordinances.
So
That
that is,
If I might help, the first place to start would be to speak with our planning department and then our Board of Works, which meets prior to this meeting at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Certainly would entertain that, but you start with the planning department, the city engineer, and they will tell you what processes you have to go through in order for there to be an ordinance. Now, once a decision is made, then it goes through a public hearing process. The council ultimately makes the determination that it needs to start at that level.
Okay, understood, thank you.
You're welcome.
so reach out to our planning department first thing.
I will do that.
Sir?
Just a quick question, are the microphones on, or?
They are.
They are, okay, it's just hard to hear back here, so I didn't know whether
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I have had somebody else tell me that before, and we need to speak into the mic. So
Thank you.
when we're speaking tonight, make sure we do that. Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else? Hearing none, we will close announcements, presentations, and public comment, which will get us to consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as written. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Austin, council president, and a second by Mr. Sean Taylor. All those in favor?
I'm sorry, sir, I know it's a hassle, but we have to do a roll call vote on everything with remote meetings.
Okay. Ms. Rhodes, with roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Rainierson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Sir?
Thank you. Motion carries. That gets us into old business.
Second.
And second was by Mrs. Jones on that one. Okay, roll call, please, for reading by title only.
Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Rainierson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Now we will go to first item. Common Council Ordinance Number 21-22, rezoning to be known as Kingsbridge PUD, Senior Planner Joanna Myers.
Good evening. The request before you is the public hearing and then official action for the Kingsbridge PUD. This was introduced at the September 20th meeting. On August 17th, the Planning Commission heard the request and forwarded a favorable recommendation with conditions of the rezoning by a vote of 10-0. The petition is requesting approximately 150 acres located west of US 31, also known as Morton Street, and south of Norwood Farms and Park Forest to be rezoned planned unit development with the Gateway Overlay District to remain. The petitioner's legal counsel, Dustin Hiddleston, is here for the presentation.
Mr. Huddleston, thank you.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I have spoken with the petitioner's attorney, and preliminarily, we agreed on 10 minutes for the presentation, 10 minutes for remonstrance, 5 minutes for rebuttal. Quite frankly, that was done as an accommodation for the large agenda that you have here. I did indicate to the attorney and anybody else who may be here, if there is more information needed, we could expand those timeframes. Initially, we tried to stick with those timeframes unless it becomes unworkable because of the number of persons involved. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dustin Huddleston, attorney for the petitioner Platinum Properties Management Company. Address is 98 West Jefferson Street, Franklin, Indiana. With me today is Paul Rio and Steve Edwards, who are principals of the petitioner. Here tonight, if you recall, this is a development that was in front of you on annexation. This is the Kingsbridge PUD rezoning. It's 150 plus acres of mixed-use commercial, single-family residential, multi-family residential, along with the dedication of a city park that's consisting of 18 acres. If you look at the map on there, it's on the northwest side of the city, just south of Norwood Farms and Park Forest. Prior to tonight's meeting, we had a lot of meetings with principals of the city and also committees and organizations. In early 2020 and 21, we had multiple meetings with the city on this project. On May 5th of 2021, we met with some individuals from Park Forest that had some questions about the project. May 13th, we met with the City Park Board, who unanimously accepted the dedication of the public park, which is approximately 18 acres. May 18th, the Planning Commission did a unanimous favorable recommendation of the concept plan of our PUD and annexation. July 6th and August 2nd, we're in front of you, which you unanimously approved our annexation of the 33.9 acres, 09 acres. And July 22nd, we met with the Technical Review Committee on our detailed plan of the PUD, which we adopted all their recommended changes and comments. August 17th, most recently, went from the Planning Commission on the approval of the rezoning of the PUD, primary plat, and a waiver. Those were all unanimously approved and forwarded here. So in short, we've had all unanimous approvals of this project so far. If you go to the next slide, there's the highlighted in yellow, the two parcels that are subject to it. The smaller parcel was outside of the city of Franklin, now that's been annexed inside the city. If you go to the next slide, it'll give a more detailed plan of the project. Zoom back a little bit, please. Total project is 149 acres. Commercial lots, which are along US 31, are approximately 17 acres. There's the big component, which is in the colored parcels, colored lots, which is the multifamily. That's 86 acres, which will consist of 240 units. If you recall, on our concept plan, how we came to you that had a different variation of lots, and that's what we came to before. But the next slide will show you we've modified that. Go back to previous slides. It's not. I'll just explain to you the modifications. On the number of lots, we have increased those from 230 to 240 lots. On the lots that are 60 by 120, those were increased to number of size for 3. Lots that are 75 by 140, they were decreased by 4. The original was 124. But the largest lots, which were light shaded white, those were increased by 9, which was originally a total of 46. Those are the 80 by 140 lots. So the larger lots were added up near the Park and Forest Commission. On the common areas, the entrances and all the common areas will be landscaped. There'll be sidewalks on both sides of the streets of the project. And connecting to the existing Stud Street at Nolan Farms. We did have a proposal, if you recall, in the concept plan, that we had a connection to Park Forest. Those individuals living up there in the town of Whiteland did not want that, so we modified that to provide a cul-de-sac up there to change that. And that was one of the waiver requests that the Planning Commission approved. The city park, that'll be 18 acres. And prior acreage was a 28-acre figure, but that included the ponds that were near there. The city does not want to take over the ownership of those ponds, so we've taken those out to water it down to the 18 acres. That was in the predominant annexed area, and the park, when it's done, will consist of amenities that I'll get into in a minute. There we go. There's the revised plan. As you can see at the top, there's no more connection to Park Forest. There's the roundabout that's been installed there. Larger lots have now been placed on the north side where Park Forest is, and that's the revised plan that was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission. Lennar Homes is going to be the builder of the lots. Lennar has been developing, building houses. The Fortune 500 company, been around since 1954. They built multiple areas in Johnson County. The Venture Collection, which would be the smaller number of lots, which consists of 63 lots. The anticipated price start point is $275,000 to $350,000. Those are the lots that are in the dark brown area there on the map. Those would be 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. And some of the slides show examples of what those look like. On the cornerstone lots, those are going to be the larger, more expensive homes. Those are going to be totaling 177. That consists of the 120 lots that are 75 by 140 feet and 57 lots of the 80 by 140 feet. Those anticipated starting point, price point is $350,000 or $450,000. That's the Venture collection, the smaller sizes up there. The next slides have the Cornerstone collection. Those square footage range from 1,800 to 3,500 square feet. An example of this type of homes that has been built around this area is the Morningside development that's outside of Martinsville. There is another development called Grassy Manor near Whiteland. Those are not the homes that are going to be built here. That's more of an entry level. The homes all have extra features that most other builders don't include, including smart devices, stainless steel appliances, 9-foot high ceilings, 3-car option garage, ceramic backsplash, brushed nickel finishes. There's a lot of extra features that Lennar adds to the package. As the council knows, with the park addition, it's been much needed to the northern part of the area. The city does not have a park on that northern side, so this is a much welcome addition. What the park board approved and what's in front of you, what would be part of this deal is the park board would waive the park impact fees that would be subject to the single-family homes and also the apartment complexes. And we would take that amount and spend that money on the parks to add the enhancement at our cost, not at the city cost, so you don't have to bid out those projects. That would include a parking lot, a dog park, playground area, and then the city is going to add additional items that will include pickleball courts, basketball courts, and all that. There'll be a trail system that goes right through all the development, including the park. And as you enhance US 31, that's, I think it's in the works, that'll connect all this area to the south and downtown area, and where you can ride a bicycle from Oldwood Farms all the way to downtown. The assessed valuation will go up because of this development. The average assessed valuations in Park Forest and Oldwood Farms are lower than what the anticipated assessed valuations would be for this project due to the construction cost and the selling point of the properties. The taxes then will also go up because of the assessed value. Currently, the taxes collected annually on these acres is $4,241. Once the project is fully developed, total tax annually will be $893,454, which 38% of that going to the city, 50% of that going to the school corporation. The school corporation approves this project and supports it along with a letter that's submitted with Superintendent Dr. Glendinning. Current zoning supports this along with the comprehensive plan, along with the park board, the mayor, and school. This is a widely accepted project that we look for your support. There's the details of the park that will be added there with the assessed value. So we ask that you approve this project of rezoning tonight and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this point, as usual, will we open up the public
Yes,
hearing?
it's for anybody, it's only 10 minutes to run.
So does anybody here want to speak on behalf or against? Now would be the time to do that. So I don't see anybody raising their hand or coming to the microphone. We will now close. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, you mentioned assessed value.
Yes, go ahead.
Jane has to have it before the
Brian Reese, resident in the Wood Farms. And I had heard mention the assessed tax values as well as, or assessed home values and taxes. Like would that, how would that affect residents in those neighborhoods? Would it change home values or tax amounts for the current residents of the neighborhood?
Justin, you want to answer the non-legal part of it? Just trying to answer the legal part. I think the word that Jane was using was the difference in the tax generated.
Yeah, compared to what it is now.
Yeah, the assessed values of Oldwood should not change because that's based on your home value as opposed to the new ones. It's just the overall assessed value for the city of Franklin would increase.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Okay, anyone else have a question? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. and then ask the council if you have any questions of Mr. Huddleston or of me or anyone else. So I think we're ready at this time, and I know like Mr. Huddleston has said, we've all already heard this a few times, so, and we're just into a different phase of it, which I think is the last phase. That's usually me.
I was gonna say, we use up all our time.
Okay, so,
Yeah, this is the rezoning phase again for refresh your recollection. So if we've already done the annexation of the small part that was not part of the city, so it's all in the city now, so we don't need to do that anymore. This is the rezoning, the PUD. You know, there's a series of amendments that's all been presented to you. They're part and parcel of the developmental standards that are part of the PUD. So under rezoning statutes, in order for rezoning to be approved, it must be approved by a majority of the entire membership of the elected officials through our 7-member body. So in order for rezoning to go through on the PUD, you will need to have 4 votes in favor of the request. And it's ready for your action.
I would move to approve common council ordinance 21-22.
okay, Kenny, Sean did that. I heard Kenny, I believe I heard you say second.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Austin with the second. So Jane, could you roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Reinerson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Okay, so we will head on to item number 2, Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 21-18, an additional appropriation MBA services in the amount of $618 to refund mowing liens collected by Johnson County and paid to the city in air. Clerk Treasurer Jane Rhodes. This was introduced September 20th, and this is also a public hearing.
Correct. Since Jane's doing double duty, handling the phones and everything, I told her that I would help her and assist her with this. If you recall, when we do mowing liens, where the city steps up and mows someone's property because they have not complied with our ordinance, the lien is then placed upon the property. When the lien is placed on the property, the county collects taxes, or in their taxes, collects our mowing lien. This particular piece, part of the property that we're dealing with tonight, the city leased the lien, and the county continued to collect the lien fees, and it was an out-of-state owner of the property, and they just continued to pay it. I'm not sure, I guess if I got a bill that I didn't know I wouldn't pay it, but an out-of-state company did. As a result, there was an overpayment to the city of Franklin in the amount of $618 that was sent to us in tax collection from the county. However, that $618 is not our money. It is appropriate to refund it to the county, who will then refund it to the taxpayer. So that is the request here to adopt this ordinance, because we cannot take money to pay to another taxing entity without having an ordinance that memorializes what we did. So that is what is before you tonight, and it is scheduled for public meeting, public hearing, because it is an ordinance.
So at this time, we will open it up for public hearing. If someone has a question or a comment, want to come up to the mic and do that, please feel free at this time. Seeing nobody jumping up to ask about the $618, I think we'll close the public hearing. It is now ready for action from the council.
Move to approve Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 21-18.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Reinerson, and missed that one. So, again, Ms. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Reinerson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. On to item number 3, Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 21-19, additional appropriation, local road and bridge matching grant fund, capital 2020-270005, 400 in the amount of $16,971 for Treasurer James Rhodes. And this was also introduced on September the 20th. And we can take action on this tonight, and it is also open for public hearing. Is there anything you want to add?
James, go ahead. James.
Yeah, this, we are closing out the 2020 Community Crossings Grant, and we are returning our portion of the money to the funds where the money came out of. So we're returning $3,698.72 to MVH, and we are returning $7,859.79 to the Lowett Special Distribution. And it all comes from the local road and bridge matching grant fund, which is $11,558.51.
And I would just like to add to that a little bit that people that don't know that the Community Crossing Grant, they apply every year for a grant from the state of Indiana for $1 million, and we match that with $1 million. So all the paving that you see around town that is not with the regular construction, just paving in neighborhoods, that is paid for out of this. So last several years, I know the city of Franklin's tried to do at least $2 million a year paving with the help of NDOT with that grant. So that's how we're able to keep up with our rates. So that's what Community Crossing Grant is when you hear that. So with that said, we are now open for public hearing. If anyone wishes to come up and ask any further questions or comments. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing, and again, it is time for the council, if you have further comments, or we're ready for action.
Move to approve budgetary ordinance 21-19.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. McGinnis and a second by Mr. Taylor. Again, Ms. Rhodes, roll call.
Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Rainierson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
So the motion passes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will go into the second phase of old business, which is these items are for adoption tonight. So number one, common council ordinance number 21-17, annexation to be known as Derrick Annexation, 130.60 acres. Adoption and resolution 21-19, fiscal plan, senior planner Joanne Myers.
Good evening. I would actually like to ask if the council could hear ordinance 21-17 and 21-18 together, as they are related.
Sure. The reason not to, we've already conducted a public hearing on this matter.
And that is item number 2, just so the audience knows, which item number 2 is common council ordinance number 21-18, approving resolution 21-24, the City of Franklin Plan Commission rezoning certain property to RS2, residential suburban 2, and RS3, residential suburban 3, to be known as Derrick rezoning. Again, that is Ms. Tittle has asked that we would hear those two together, because we've already had the public hearing. So I think, Mr. Austin, you had a question earlier in the day, and I said we'd have to discuss that.
I've listened to the last meeting, and a little bit taken back, didn't really, a little bit confused about the fiscal plan itself. And so is this something that the fiscal plan is a dead deal, or is it something we can look at again? Or is, how do we move forward with the potential fiscal plan?
And I will ask Mr. Drake for that.
Thank you, and not to put words in your mouth, my guess is that's the reason you want to hear it all at one time, so it can be a collective, consistent decision. Mr. Austin, the fiscal plan did not pass at the last meeting. In fact, it was not voted in. In order to annex property, a fiscal plan must be adopted if you wish to annex the property. Because there has not been final action on the annexation and/or on the zoning, you can reconsider the adoption of the fiscal plan at this hearing if you are going to have annexation. You do not have to, but you can, because there has been no final action on the annexation. So to answer, I think your direct question is, can that be reconsidered? Yes, you can.
So I think it would take someone from the city council.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a public hearing any longer. So I think what will happen is Joanna will present what is before you currently, and then it will be a appropriate time to have the conversations amongst council as to what should happen. Annexation would require the adoption of the fiscal plan. If it is not, it is done. If the annexation occurs, then there is also a vote that would be done on the rezoning one way or the other.
So I guess my question is, and Mr. Austin asked me this today, does someone on the council need to make a motion to hear the fiscal plan?
To reconsider the fiscal plan. But I think, just so the record is very clear, let's let Joanna do the introduction. But yes, sir, if that's your direct question, if that is the desire of the council, there would need to be a motion to reconsider adoption of the fiscal plan. That answer it?
That answers you.
Thank you, sir.
Missy, can you put up the exhibit titled concept plan, please?
On item 2 or item 3?
1 or 2, either. Oh, go back. No, go back to the agenda, please. Concept plan. There you go. Thank you. So to bring everybody up to speed of where we've been and where we're going, the Plan Commission, let's see, we're going to do the Plan Commission for annexation was heard by, or the annexation was heard by the Plan Commission on June 15th, 2021. They did forward a favorable recommendation by a vote 7-2 for the property to be annexed. The property is approximately 130 acres located on the west side of Hurricane Road, immediately north of Heritage Subdivision, and is planned for future residential development. This was introduced at the August 16th meeting, and the public hearing was held on September 7th, which was also the public hearing for the fiscal plan. At that particular meeting, the fiscal plan was denied by City Council. Which brings us here today. On July 20th, the Plan Commission heard the rezoning of the property. Approximately half of it to be rezoned RS2, which is residential suburban 2, with written commitments, and then the other half being RS3, residential suburban 3, also with commitments. This was forwarded to City Council with a favorable recommendation by unanimous vote of those in attendance, which was 9-0. This case was also introduced on August 16th, and public hearing was held September 7th. As you're all aware, we always do ask that the rezonings be tabled until the adoption of the annexation, since they are companion pieces. As Mr. Austin had mentioned, the fiscal plan is an element that by Indiana code has to be adopted in order for an annexation to be considered adopted. If there is not a fiscal plan adopted, then the annexation cannot be adopted. This is the original concept plan that was presented to Plan Commission and also was presented at City Council at both the introduction and at the public hearing. Upon the information that the petitioner heard at the last meeting before City Council at the public hearing, they did go back and reassess their concept. If you can open the attachment titled Information from Forestar. Forestar did forward Next page, please. A revised concept plan. And I wanted to just emphasize that this is a concept plan. Some of the changes that they have made is, next page, please. Reducing the total number of lots.
This one you want.
That one. Yep, perfect. From the original proposed 347, a reduction of 25 lots to 322, which reduces the density. Previously, it was 2.7 units per acre. This new concept plan is 2.46 units per acre. They have also made some modifications to how they are proposing the lots of fronting Hurricane Road. Most of those have been removed and will now be mainly landscaping as you travel along Hurricane. They will be adding a fifth pond, also adding an internal trail system that runs north and south through the property. One of the items is the addition of an amenity area near the main entrance, which is to include a pool house and pool with parking to coincide with the pool, and then potentially some other amenities in that green space. In this particular concept plan, it's showing a putting green, but it was a concept plan. And then, just for clarification, the subdivision ordinance does require connectivity with vacant parcels adjacent to this property. The first concept plan that they had provided did not have the required connectivity shown on it. They were aware and had every intention of doing that, as it is a requirement. This updated plan, if you could zoom out just a little bit, does include that connectivity, but that is a requirement of there you go, thank you, of the subdivision control ordinance. This plan was provided on the agenda and has been out there for public viewing. As currently presented in your rezoning ordinance packet, as written, that is what's being presented to you this evening. City Council does have the ability to add or modify commitments. So if there's anything from this concept plan that you would like to see written in stone for them to meet, I believe they're willing to commit to that. But those would have to be amendments that you would make to the ordinance itself. Vote on that, and then if you chose to adopt it, then vote on the whole ordinance. But as Mr. Austin mentioned, we first have to address the fiscal plan.
And Joanne, if I'm understanding the presentation correctly, it's not increase the density of the subdivision. And the reason I ask that question from a legal standpoint, anything that increases the density would require to be referred back to the planning commission for review, because what the planning commission sent to you with their recommendation had a certain density. You can decrease it. You know, if you decrease the density, it cannot be increased. So you're saying on the record, the revised petition has decreased the density.
Correct. It is a reduction of 25 lots.
And just so the record's also clear, you not only received that, you also received some petitions and some letters from interested homeowners to your office. Have those all been circulated?
They have been circulated.
And they're part of the file as well?
Correct.
It's ready for council's discussion and action.
The reduction in lots, is that increasing the size of the remaining lots, or is the reduction primarily being used in the common areas with the pool house and
I would anticipate it's a combination of both.
But the minimum lot size?
The minimum lot size for the RS2,
I remember 60. Sorry.
that's okay.
We want to get it right.
RS2 would be 75 feet in width, 10,000 square feet in area for straight zoning of R2. For R3, the minimum width is 50 feet. They are making the commitment, and in the ordinance, the commitment is a minimum of 60 feet with the minimum lot area of 7,200 square feet.
And the Windstar neighborhood, those lots are actually smaller than what is being proposed here. Did I hear that right last week?
Correct.
Or last-
There are a number of lots in the bluffs at Youngs Creek that are smaller than the RS2 as proposed. And some of the RS3.
This is going to sound snarky, but forgive me. So as a body, we have the ability to modify subdivision or make some recommendations.
To the rezoning ordinance, yes.
And do we do that right now?
You would first have to reconsider the fiscal plan if you would like to consider the annexation.
My point being that, and I'm not criticizing you, I'm just, the whole process to me gets to me sometimes, but like we got all these numbers, R2, R1, moving things around and everything else, so we can collectively decide that and make that recommendation up here, which doesn't quite make sense, because I don't know how you do that. Unless you have somebody that's an expert in the field that understands all this completely and can make that recommendation. Just a comment. I do have a question. There have been comments received. Was there any petition signed by anybody that was brought forth?
I have not seen a petition.
Okay.
I believe was there not a petition sent to, I was carbon copying on it.
I believe it was from Linda Norton.
Correct. I believe I was carbon copying on that, and I know it was given to all council members.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Then if someone could forward it to me, that would be great.
Yeah, it was not, you're right, Julian, I did see it, and it was for council members. Thank you.
Okay. The fact that they have modified their plan, does that give anybody from, that might remonstrate, an opportunity to say something at this time?
No, sir, that's
Is it a
not,
closed door?
the public hearing has been completed. Again, any modifications that increase the density must be referred back to planning commission.
All right.
Anything that do not are here. However, the ordinance that is currently before you had the commitments that were set forth before. I think what Joanne is saying is if you are going to adopt these additional commitments, that should also be part of your approval. And again, that's on the rezoning, not the annexation.
Thank you.
So quite honestly, to move forward, we either, somebody makes a motion to revisit the fiscal plan, we vote on it, or we don't. So I think that's the next step before we move forward, talk about the rest of it. Somebody just needs to, if you want to revisit the fiscal plan and have a vote on that, more questions on that. I'll be quite honest with you, when the fiscal plan, what we said to people, City of Franklin can't afford to do that. And I think that was, to me personally, that was the wrong message, and that's not quite the fact. The City of Franklin can afford to do that. So that's why we need to visit the fiscal plan.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to bring up Resolution 21-29 fiscal plan and revisit that as a motion.
So, Mr. Austin, your motion currently is to reconsider the denial. That's what your motion is. Does that have to first reconsider it or not? So that's your first motion, to reconsider the denial.
And let me get this right. You said 19, Mr. Austin. I think it's Resolution 21-29.
Correct.
Is what that resolution is for the fiscal plan.
Yeah, I thought it said 21-29.
Okay, that's, okay, so Mr. Austin has made a motion to hear the fiscal plan again.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Reinerson. So Mrs. Rhodes, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hukin?
No.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
No.
Mr. Reinerson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. So we have adopted fiscal
No,
plan.
we have not. We reconsidered it. It's a two-step process.
Okay.
We had a motion to reconsider it. So now it is before you again as to whether or not you wish to adopt it.
So we need to have a motion for that.
That is correct.
Okay, so now we need a motion, like Ms. Gray just said, to adopt the fiscal plan.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Jones. Ms. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hukin?
No.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
No.
Mr. Reinerson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Can I ask a question real quick? We're only the fiscal plan, right?
That is correct.
Nothing else, no annexation, none of the rest. Just the fact that the city can support if moved forward, correct?
That is correct. It
Yes.
is only a motion to adopt this plan. That's correct.
Okay,
Sir.
motion carries. Now, I'm gonna let Lynn get us to the next one.
Well, really, the rezoning is part and parcel of the annexation. Petitioner's not going to want to come in unless there is a rezoning. So I think it would be appropriate at this point in time, let's get to the meat of the matter, if you will, and look to rezoning. Either deny it, approve it, and the approval will be subject to annexation. If you are approving it, if you're denying it, then that's the end of it. It's not been adopted. I think that's a fair thing to both the petitioner and to the demonstrator. So entertain the rezoning, and it's certainly open and available for all conversations that the elected officials may have regarding rezoning.
One thing I would like to share is just some research that I did on my own because I was unfamiliar with the builder and the neighborhoods that this builder has homes in. I did visit all three of them that are in Johnson County. The one in Whiteland seems to be fairly new compared to the ones in Greenwood and Barbersville. A lot of the homes in there seem to be on the higher end scale that they are building versus the lower priced homes models. But the model wasn't open, so I wasn't able to go into the model there. So I drove to Greenwood and looked at that neighborhood, and that neighborhood is pretty much almost complete. The lots were very, very small in the neighborhood in Greenwood. There was no model home there for me to look at as well. But there was an open house. It happened to be a Sunday. There was an open house, and a realtor had her sign out in front of the home. So I stopped and went in and looked. The home was very nicely done. I talked to the real estate agent. I felt was an unbiased party in this transaction to get her opinion on the builder. She said that D.R. Horton as well as Lennar, which that name came up tonight for the other subdivision, are her two top builders that she recommends to her customers. This particular house just happened to be one that her customer had bought and couldn't end up purchasing the home due to a change in their life circumstances. So this house that she was doing the open house on was listed for $550,000. It was one of the very large top models. It was very well finished, very similar to a lot of the houses that are being out by Hillview as far as the quality of the workmanship inside. I went out today to Bargersville. They seem to be primarily almost complete out there. They're still building a lot, but they have one section that looks to be pretty complete. I stopped and talked to one of the people that were walking their little baby around the neighborhood and asked him if he was happy with his home there and the quality of the construction of the home, and he said yes, he was very happy with it. I tried to Google D.R. Horton, and there were several reviews that came up, but I could not find any reviews for any Indiana properties. They were all out of state. And I'm not really sure what the connection is, if there is any connection between the homes that are built out of state versus what's built here in Indiana. But I do feel that we have a very high shortage of houses right now. I have 2 kids that tried to buy in Franklin, and they could not purchase a home here because there was nothing available for them to purchase. They tried making offers on one that actually was in Camelot, and there was like 10 offers that came in on that same house. I think we've all heard those stories about how we are shorted, there's a shortage of houses. So my one son went to Whiteland, and my other son, or my daughter, went to Trafalgar. Based on that, I'm in favor of us considering this adoption because of those reasons.
I also went and visited 2 of the ones. I went and visited one in Bargersville and one in Whiteland. And the biggest, I thought there was a big difference between the one in Whiteland and the one in Bargersville just by the quality of home, the amount of brick, and everything that was, the way it was built. It seemed to be the one in Bargersville was at the whole bottom level of all the ranches were all brick. The one in Whiteland, you couldn't really tell the difference from home to home. It looked very similar. If you look at the back of the homes, they looked almost identical. You know, I'm one that I'm not against the growth. I think we need houses, but I just don't know if that's the houses that we want in here. You know, I've talked to a number of realtors over the last few days, and they have all said, yes, we need those homes that, you know, that from the starter home, person buys a starter home, we need a lot more of those second homes here in Franklin. And, you know, I think that's kind of where these are at, but I also want them to be, you know, I don't want it to be like the ones in Whiteland where they are very, look to me, very cookie cutter, nice homes. I went inside the model there in Whiteland, but is that what we want to, for, our neighborhoods here? Can we do better? Do we want this many homes on that plot of land? If it was all RS2 with the bigger lots and bigger homes, I would probably be more in favor of it, but I think we're packing too many homes in that little section at this time.
Okay, I was asked by some city councilmen, they said, you've been quiet, Mayor, you're going to have to make a stand. So I'm ready, I'm going to make a stand. I would, first off, I want to thank everyone that attended the public hearing September the 7th. I know all of us in this room, we love Franklin. Nobody wants to ever lose this hometown feel. I don't see this causing us losing that hometown feel. Yes, I am in favor of this development, and I'd like to tell you why, to clear up some miscommunication that's being spread in the community. For example, road improvements, lighting improvements, sewer main extensions, drainage improvements are all paid for by the developer. There's no deals or partnerships for these entities to be paid for with the city of Franklin. The developer will also need to get approval from the county's drainage board, but also needs to get an easement from the Legends Golf Course and the owner of the Golf Academy property before this ever happens. What is responsible growth? And I've thought about this all weekend. In 2010, the U.S. Census listed Franklin's population 23,712 people. The 2020 census just released their updated numbers and currently list us at 25,313. We have only grown 1,601 people in 10 years. Quite honestly, that's unacceptable. I don't know how we can survive like that. So what we have done, we have created this beautiful downtown to be a destination where entrepreneurs can open up a business, they can keep this downtown vibrant, sustainable. We've added restaurants, other retail establishments along US 31. We're adding job diversity to our industrial parks. We need all of this to prosper as a city. And when you see help wanted signs everywhere, it's easy to say, oh, the extra unemployment, people don't want to work because they're getting extra unemployment. But that's not really the whole picture. The fact is, we're not retaining our talent. Our young adults, our kids, my kids also left Franklin, there's no place to live. Our kids are graduating, moving away. And one of the main reasons for this is they can't find a place where they can live. We need to not only attract talent, people to come here with talent, but we got to strive to keep our local talent that's moving away. In addition, quality, affordable housing, safe neighborhoods, it's all needed for both the young and old alike. Daily, I get questions about Chick-fil-A, Texas Roadhouse, Red Lobster, and other popular restaurant chains coming here. Well, I want them here too, and I'm going to tell you, as a matter of fact, I contact Chick-fil-A, Texas Roadhouse, their corporate office so much that I am on a first-name basis with them. And they all tell me, Franklin is on the radar, but we need more rooftops before they will ever come here. And I've been hearing that for 4.5 years. When I became mayor 4 years and 8 months ago, I met with many city stakeholders, business owners, nonprofits, the Franklin Community School Corporation, Franklin College, Johnson Memorial Hospital, which is our largest local employer. And I asked them, what is your #1 need? Overwhelmingly, housing come back as priority #1 then, and still priority #1 now, today. A variety of housing is necessary for all residents within our city. I do want to thank our Community Development Department, our Planning and Engineering Department, for the part you play in responsible decision-making along this journey. I could talk all night about the many housing projects that do not move forward because we as a team have not believed to be the right types of development for our city. Our planning department has worked hard to only bring forward projects that fit our master plan, our city needs, and we have put together a strong growth plan at different price points that meet our needs, depending on the fluctuation of the housing market. The implementation of this plan is projected to take 5 to 8 years. And I'll show you this plan here in a second, or read it off. I don't know if Missy can pull that up, but currently there are only 87 available lots that you can get a permit and build on in the city of Franklin. 87 lots, that's all that's here. Now in the works, there are 4 subdivisions at various price points, and I think we've done a very good job of strategically trying to lay this out so it will not affect the large traffic patterns. For example, on the west side of the city, West Wind at Cumberland, 125 lots from $200,000 to $250,000. The south side of Franklin, Bluffs of Youngs Creek, 387 lots, $230,000 to $325,000 price range. Kingsbridge, that we just heard tonight, $275,000 to $450 lots, or $275,000 to $450,000, 240 lots. And then Homestead at Hillview, 66 lots, $550,000 to $800,000. That is 800 lots. So you take, that's 818 lots, you take the 818 plus the 87, that gives us a total of 905 lots. That's not the 1,300 that is lots that is rumored going around around the states that we have 1,300 lots. That's not really the facts. If this Sterrick property would get approved, it would bring us to 1,227 total lots. And this is where we'd say it would take 5 to 8 years to build out all these lots. It's not like it's going to wake up and happen tomorrow. And I also want to clarify this. The Sterrick property is not $200,000 homes. They're not small homes on small lots. And again, these homes are 325 to 450,000, which would fit in there between the Kingsbridge and the Homestead at Hillview. The majority are 75-foot lots instead of the 50-foot lots. And I have received many calls from people saying, we only signed this petition because we did not get the information of, we were all told it was $200,000 homes. I did not call people to ask them about the petition. I haven't seen who signed it. I've had people calling me and say, I didn't mean to sign that. It's your own prerogative, sign what you want. It just wasn't, the information wasn't given for what I seen on the petition of what I've been told by the developer, or by the people that signed it. This is the third developer that has brought plans to our planning department for this property. Another thing that I hear that I want to kind of clarify, we don't bring everything to the city. We have businesses and developers every day knocking on our door, and Joanna and Krista and Mark. There's lots of things that we don't bring forward, we don't think fits in this city. The first two envisioned that brought on this property, they brought smaller homes built on smaller lots which did not receive approval from the planning team. Again, we do not bring forward every project that is presented to us. Only the best fit plans makes it to be presented. This is the third plan we've received from different developers. This is the third developer, and I think this is the third plan from this developer on this property. And I'll be quite honest with you, I think it's a good one. This project has bigger lots with higher cost per house price points and has been well laid out. And in addition, our Plan Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation with 9-0 unanimous vote. We have an outstanding planning team with years of professional experience in planning and development, and they advise me on which projects should move forward and which ones should not. We don't agree all the time, but I listen to our planning department with their knowledge and years of experience. I appreciate and respect their professional opinion and dedication to this wonderful city of Franklin, and my hope is that this board will too. We have 25,313 residents, and our job is to make Franklin the best place to live, work, and play for a lifetime. And I would hope that we make the decision so all 25,313 people can enjoy that. We all love our city, and let's keep up the good work. So thank you for letting me speak. So that's all I got to say at this time.
Ms. Gray, am I allowed to ask a question of someone in the audience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There is no public hearing. Yes, the board is entitled to this.
Linda Norton, I think I saw you come in. Hi, Linda.
Hi there.
So there's been,
Linda, would you please approach the microphone for the benefit of Jane? Just so
absolutely. Thank you.
Yes,
Hi, Linda. Can you say your name just for the...
Linda Norton.
Okay. So Linda, you've heard tonight that the word petition has been mentioned several times, and I know that you have, I don't want to say in charge of them, I don't know if that's the correct term, but you've certainly, you know about them. Can you tell me a little bit about the petitions and what they covered and what questions were asked?
Yes, okay. Thank you, first of all, for asking, because obviously you all are aware. I had sent emails to every council member and explained a little bit. And I'm speaking today on behalf of the majority of the people in the audience as well, who did participate in the petition. And I want to state right now, the council members know, and I'm assuming Steve does as well, that on the petition, it says, "Thank you to all of the Franklin City officials for your service. We encourage you to push pause on further annexation and large housing developments. Let's keep Franklin small town strong." That's all that the petition said. So thank you for this opportunity, and I have written some comments if I would like to share.
Can you tell me?
That's beyond just is a question and answer.
Excuse me.
Can you tell me how many signatures you received?
At the moment, we have 647.
Okay, and did you separate them out?
Yes, and a large number are your district, Ann, from the Heritage well, first of all, we had one specifically designed for the Heritage residents. If you are not actively aware of something, you tend not to get involved. And I happened to talk with the wife of the Homeowners Association and showed her a picture of the map. And I said, they plan to attach to your development. And she immediately wanted to do something. So we created a specific petition for them. 96 people signed online, and it says, asking the council to vote no on this 4-star development, a major concern on traffic. And then also in your district, from the Heather Glenn group, we had 69 residents sign, and in the Legends West, we had 41. And then, of course, you already know the opinion of the rest of the people on Hurricane Road.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
I'd like to see a lot more.
I understand.
So I did want to address some of the comments that Mr. Taylor had mentioned about the homes in Whiteland versus the homes in Barnesville. In this particular petition, both in the RS2 written commitments and the RS3 written commitments are two things that address some of the things that you had mentioned. One of them being the anti-monotony commitment. And then also there is a section about exterior materials. Both of those are similar to what are in effect in Barkersville. I can't speak to whether or not the Whiteland subdivision has similar commitments. It may or may not. But I do know that those particular ones are similar to the one in Barkersville. There are some other items that were added specific to garages, which is also something that is similar to Barkersville. And that's been something that we've brought forward as staff in discussions with both the developer of Kingsbridge and then also the developer 4-Star and D.R. Portman. And it was specific in regard to looking at a couple of the subdivisions in the community and seeing the difference of the aesthetics of a same builder but different community. So that's why those are added here, and I think they do address some of your concerns to those specific things. So I just want to make sure that you were aware that those are written commitments.
Yeah, I saw those in there, but it didn't really tell me how much brick or what. Was it just the front part? Was it all the way around the bottom story? Because one in Barkersville was, if it was a ranch, it was a full brick all the way around. If it was a 2-story, the bottom level was brick all the way around, and then it could use siding on the second story. Where the ones in Whiteland was just a little spotch brick right on the front, and the rest was siding. And when you have 3 full and the siding, it looked very the same all the way down through there when you look at it.
Yeah, the ones in Barkersville definitely had a lot more variety and looked a lot nicer than the ones in Whiteland. I agree with that.
And Barkersville does have set architectural standards in place that are above and beyond many of the local communities. So they are definitely one step ahead. But then legislation has also restricted our ability to do that. It's made our job interesting.
I'm going to talk for a second. Hopefully won't go on too long about this. I'm probably like every other member that's sitting up here, and probably a lot of folks that are sitting out there kind of laid awake at night thinking about what's the right thing to do, and really there's no bad people involved here. We're just trying to make decisions for what we think's best for us. I respect what the mayor does. I've always been appreciative of a lot of good things you do and your talents and so forth that you bring here. Certainly there's a lot of diversity and different ideas on the council. And I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I'm reminded that you know, when this whole thing got started, somebody hit me up and said, well, you know, what about the first-time home buyers, you know, and all of that. And, you know, I try to be sensitive to that because I grew up in an area of town that was kind of probably not the most popular area in Franklin. You know, probably hopefully made a few contributions in my life. The whole thing that gets to me is who's dictating our future. And I guess I have a bit of a problem, and I run into this, and we're going to see it again in the weeks ahead when we look back to the east side, is are we allowing our residents, our people, our constituents to have a voice in what goes on? And I realize that, you know, whenever something seems to come up, it's the people who live in that area are probably the most vocal. I think in this, and I think in every situation, there are people that have good positions, and you have to respect what they say, even though they may live in there, it might be in their backyard. Early on, I saw this train coming. I thought, oh my gosh, sure comes another one of these deals. When Sharon Acton was quoted in the Journal, and I'm not going to ask Sharon to say it tonight. Sharon, I've known her many years. She is a former lead person in the local area when it was known as Public Service Indiana, kind of a trailblazer in many things that she did. She's never once said to me that she's against housing in any part of Franklin, but she was quoted in the paper of saying, we can do better. Okay, I didn't disagree with that. That made a lot of sense to me. But, you know, I'll get to the point here in a second, but I read in the Journal just recently, it seems like right now we're worried about development and, you know, doing all this stuff, and I'm not sure that the voices are being heard. It was an article regarding the TIF area of Johnson County and the ongoing, you know, discussions that are going on between the city and the county, Greenwood, Franklin, and makes me wonder, why aren't we having a community-wide dialogue about TIF? I'm going to come back to this. You know, where's Aspire in this discussion? At one point, I used to look forward to the Journal taking a position on a serious issue and saying, you all need to get together and talk this out and figure out what's going on. I don't feel like we're doing that in our communities today. I don't know that we're doing it in the counties. It just seems like we're just taking whatever. We're not taking every deal that's handed to us. Mayor, I know that you turn people down. You say no. It's not easy to tell people no. But are we really giving our constituents an opportunity to step back and have some input into this whole discussion? Our city has utilized on a couple of occasions an analysis that Jeff Purser wrote. It's called Six Sigma. I may not even be pronouncing it right. It's a decision-making process where you get various parties that are interested parties. They weigh in, they prioritize, they determine what an outcome should be, and decisions are based on that. We used it with the Franklin Development Corporation, and it really helped them a lot to find what they do today, what you see the results of. The Art Craft Theater struggled a few years ago and really kind of defining what they wanted to do in order to get some grant money. I think it was a valuable tool for them. Rob Schultz would say it kind of opened his eyes to a lot of things. I believe even our own city has used that at some extent. We're not using that type of a situation right now when it comes to making decisions regarding commercial development, industrial development, or housing. Basically, we're taking whatever deal, not every deal that's handed to us, but decisions are being offered. People are coming in that are saying, this is what you need. And I learned in my business, when you had a third-party vendor come in and say, let me tell you what you're going to need, what you've got to have. By the way, I'm going to sell it to you at the same time. You know, you kind of step back. I'm not sure, well, I'm quoting Sharon again. I'm going to let it out this morning. Sharon, I know you spent a lot of time on this. One reason to invest with no votes tonight, talking to the council members, to allow us as residents, I'm saying, allow yourselves time to take a strategic look at Franklin's future housing development. We're asking your leadership to develop a plan for residential growth that enhances Franklin and continues its reputation as one of the best small towns in Indiana. Franklin has that leadership in place to accomplish this, including Mayor Barnett, Steve Barnett, who has a strong background in business, construction, and bolstered by experience and a respected staff. Nobody disagrees with that. Franklin has city council members with diverse business backgrounds and strong leadership skills. Please take the time now to survey local residents and business people why they love living and working in Franklin, and why regional Indiana residents consider Franklin a destination for shopping, entertainment, recreation, and dining, and so forth. My point is, can't we just figure out a way to, all of us, decide what we want to do, whether you're voters or non-voters, whether you live in the outskirts of the city or right downtown. I'm not being inundated by people coming to me and saying, I want industrial development, I want housing subdivisions popping up everywhere. I think we need it. I've always been an advocate of growth, but it has to be a strategic growth. It has to be a responsible growth. If we would ever go through that process and get this done, and we come to the conclusion that this is the housing type that we want and this company, I'd be the first to vote for it. But right now, I'm just kind of sitting here without any information other than the fact that those that are for, which generally are the ones that are selling it, and those that are against are generally the ones that live close by. I'm kind of stuck in the middle, and I've got to say, what's my politics? Who do I like? Who do I don't like? But ultimately, it's got to be, we've got to listen to everybody and figure out what to work. So thank you for allowing me to ramble for a few minutes, and I tried to write this out, so it's what you got. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, Ken Austin, I want to just mention that the price points of these homes, I know that the city of Franklin has been looking for these price points for as long as I've been on the council. So when this, project came forward, I was somewhat excited because I think it absolutely it fit into what I've been hearing for almost 20 years. So with that said, I'm supporting the project, specifically with some of the concessions that were made with larger lot sizes, the additional retention pond, and again, the fiscal plan specifically, wanted to get that at least looked at again, and I appreciate the council for that consideration. But, that's the reason I'm supporting it, Bob, and all the other city councilmen, is because I've been hearing this for a long time, that this is what the city needs. So I'm listening to my constituents that's been telling me this for a long time. So I'm basing my decision on that. So, thank you for letting me chat.
So, anyone else, or is there anyone else?
No, I think what I just want to point out is I can bet a lot of these people here tonight are from the Hurricane Road area, either Legends, Heritage, Heather's Glen, wherever it may be. And I think Bob was right in that a lot of times we don't listen to the residents. And I get it, you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at what's best for the city, and it can't always make everyone happy. I understand that. But these people know best where they live. They bought their homes for a reason, and I know a lot of the faces sitting out here, and they've been long-time Franklin residents. I'm not against growth. I'm not against this company coming in, per se. I just think it's the wrong location. I think it's too much next to Heritage on Hurricane Road. And if there's a planned interchange coming, not tomorrow, but eventually, wow, what an explosion. So that's why I just can't support it. Again, I support more housing. We all need it. We all know it's a must. But this particular project and this particular location, I can't support. That's all I have.
I'll say just one thing that Ann touched on, and I know talked about with, is the interchange possibly coming. This is going to be a gateway to our city if that's the case. Is this what we want as a gateway to our city coming forth over the next 5, 6, 8, 10 years if NDOT decides to put that interchange right there? I just think we need to make sure we're planning this area properly with that part in mind. We throw in another 325 houses with that interchange coming through. Is that the best thing for our city going forward over the next 8 to 10 years? My daughter's a 5th grader. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So, over the next 8 to 10 years, I want them to come back and be a part of the city as well, and have housing. But I also don't want it to be a blunder on our part at this time to jump at it and say, hey, we need 325 more houses on this road with an interchange possibly coming in without doing a little more diligence to it.
Okay. Anybody else? So, Mr. Austin, I think the time has come, your council president, so if you want to make a motion to approve or not approve, I think it's time to have the vote. I think we've beat this horse to death. So I'm going to leave that up to the council president to, unless somebody else wants to make a motion.
Are there any other if we're going to make motions, are there any other commitments that we want to see before we make that?
That's up to you. I mean, you can ask the question.
The petitioner has submitted through staff revised amendments.
Yeah.
That is not currently in the ordinance. At a minimum, you would want to make your motion to include those revised amendments, including, in all likelihood, a time frame for the improvements to occur.
So for the amenities, having experienced many different developments through many different communities, the offering of an amenity with the pool house and pool and potential other recreational items at that entrance on the second or last. There you go. I think if this is something that you are foreseeing, I think it would be wise to add target points of when the construction of the pool house and pool and recreation area, those improvements start going into the ground, and a time frame of when they are to be completed. Because it's not something that we necessarily want to be the very last thing to go in, especially when a subdivision is being marketed with those particular items. Staff's recommendation would be to add a commitment that those amenities at the entrance be started with section 1 and that they be completed by the time the secondary plat for section 2 is recorded. And that's just a recommendation.
So let me again analyze it, and to your point, we do have some guidelines in terms of the zoning laws, so we're kind of stuck with those.
Right.
But we can't defer petitions to committees to approve. However, if you feel, if the request is to deny the rezoning, then a statement should be made on what legal grounds that is. If you are moving to approve the rezoning as submitted, it doesn't have these amenities, you would want to add with the additional commitments as presented in a time frame for completion of the amendment. I think I characterized it. Obviously, it's up to you, and whichever way you go, that is your elected official's duty to make that decision. But it should be one of those two decisions. And I would say that the decision, whatever motion you have, must have a four-member vote, either for or against, for there to be what is called official action by council. And the mayor is not He's an elected official, he's not a member of the council, so we'll need 4 votes one way, we'll need to have 2%.
So, Joanne, what is the time frame that you would recommend or suggest for recommendations that you had mentioned concerning the construction?
That the amenities,
And that's what you just discussed?
that the amenities start construction with section 1 and be completed prior to recording the secondary plat of section 2.
Were you able to hear that, Councilman?
Yeah. What I'll do is, Lynn, help me out here, is it 21-18 or is it 21-24?
The request for the rezoning is what is proposed now, and it's Council Ordinance 21-18, approving Resolution 21-24 on the City of Franklin Planning Commission.
So I'll make so moved, and with the approved recommendations, commitments, as also to start at the beginning of section 1. Is that correct, Joanne?
Yeah. Obviously, it's your motion, but if I'm understanding it, you are moving for approval of that ordinance, subject to the additional commitments made by the petitioner, as well as a requirement that the amenities begin during the first section and be completed before recording the secondary plat of section 2. Is that your motion, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mr. Austin has made a motion. We've heard that. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. From Mrs. Jones, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, please, Jane.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
I would like to clarify, though, that this is 21-18.
21-18.
Common Council Ordinance 21-18.
Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Mr. Chairman, I feel that I have to make one comment.
The public hearing's been closed, Linda.
I know,
Public
but
hearing's been closed.
the
Public hearing's been closed, Linda.
the developer was allowed to have a presentation.
The developer has not made one statement tonight, Linda. We've discussed that prior to the meeting.
It's all been through the planning office, and
That's
you're
correct.
missing some things.
There's a motion on the floor, sir.
One clarification, to add that it be subject to adoption of the annexation.
Absolutely. Can't rezone something that's not been annexed. That's correct.
Okay, so we are actually taking a vote, the council is taking a vote on the rezoning,
Correct. Subject to the annexation.
subject to the annexation.
And the fiscal plan?
Well, the fiscal plan has already been adopted, so your rezoning has the conditions set forth.
Ms. Rhodes, roll call.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
No.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
No.
Mr. Reinerson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Okay, so the motion carries 4-3 for the rezoning.
Correct. And now we will need a final vote on the annexation, subject to the annexation.
Okay, so need someone to make a motion on annexation. Mr. Austin just said so moved. Is that right, Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reinerson. Mrs. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Nay.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
No.
Mr. Reinerson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
The The annexation, sir, has been approved 4-3.
Okay, so the motion's carried 4-3. That is all we need on that.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to the next item, which is, we might want to wait a second.
If there's anybody here for comments on Resolution 2119, it's been continued.
Okay, we're going to go into item number 3, Common Council Ordinance number 21-19, approving a resolution for the City of Franklin Planning Commission and annexing certain properties contiguous to the Franklin corporate limits, to be known as Yarnell annexation.
The petitioner and the staff would like to request that the council table this to the next meeting as we are still working through some logistics with the county.
Okay, so we would need a motion to table the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table ordinance 21-19 till next meeting. Roll call, please.
Trying to catch up.
Please table. Bill.
Mr. Austin?
Mr. Austin?
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Rainierson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Next item. Common Council Ordinance number 21-20, approving resolution 21-28, City of Franklin Planning Commission rezoning certain property to industrial light to be known as Yarnell rezoning. Senior Planner, Brenda Hill.
Good evening. In addition, the petitioner and staff would like to request that the council table this to the next meeting to coincide with the annexation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Ms. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Rainierson?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion carries to be tabled.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Next item, adoption of the 2022 budget, Common Council Budget Period Ordinance 21-20. It was introduced on August the 16th, and I think we've all had plenty of time to talk about it and look at the budget. So hopefully we can get a motion to adopt the budget tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, for the 2022 budget.
Yes, sir. Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
Aye.
Mr. Rainierson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, we have a 2022 budget.
Okay, and I would like also to remind everyone, you need to sign this and check yea or nay.
Okay, so we'll go on to new business. Need a motion to read by title only.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Austin, second by Mrs. McGinnis, to read by title only. Roll call, please.
Oh. Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
Aye.
Mr. Rainierson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can read item number 1. Common Council Budgetary Resolution number 21-09, authorizing a transfer from Fund 270 Local Road and Bridge Matching Grant Fund to Fund 201 MVH and Fund 257 Lowell Special Distribution in the amount of $11,558.51. Ms. Clerk Treasurer Jamie Rhodes, and we can take action on this one tonight.
Correct. We are closing out the 2020 Community Crossings Grant, and it is now time, the money that was left over, we send half of it back to NDOT, and then we keep the other half, which was $11,558.51, and we distribute it then back to the funds that it came from. So it came from MVH, $3,698.72, and from the Lowell Special Distribution, $7,859.79.
So we need a motion to approve or deny. So
Move to approve.
Second.
I'm going to take that second from Sean. I seen your lips moving. Okay, so all those in favor, we would need again a roll call, please.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. McGinnis?
Aye.
Mr. Rainierson?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. The next item is for introduction only, so we don't have to do a roll call on that. It is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 21-21, an additional appropriation local road and bridge matching grant fund 270-007-400-$762,013. Clerk Treasurer Jamie Rhodes.
Yes, this is money that we received from the Community Crossings Grant for the 2021 first half, and correct, Mark? The first half. And now we need to appropriate that to be able to pay bills.
Okay, so that was for introduction only. We'll go into other business. We'll say that the Board of Works tonight can get approved to go ahead and advertise for the trash collections bid, and I know we all talked about it at the budget. Before we move forward on what's our next step with trash, with our trash collections, we want to get the prices, get the bids back, and then we'll have discussion at the council on where do we go from there. So that is just before council comments. I wanted to get you up to speed on where we're at with that, and that's where we're at. So now that gets us.
If I might just add, in the event the city elects to go towards fee for that service, you will be requested to adopt an ordinance authorizing that fee. And quite frankly, it didn't seem fair to ask you to adopt an ordinance not knowing roughly what that fee might entail. So we're going to go out to bid for it. So when you see those bids, you ultimately will have to make that decision for me to know some price, because it's probably getting close to $1.5 million. So we'll bring that to you.
Thank you. So real quick, I still would like to do the council comment. Everybody's okay with that? I know it's been a long meeting. Ken Austin, after the order, you got anything to add?
I just want to tell council, I apologize for missing railroad pilot issues, so obviously you guys don't want me down there. So, anyway, I apologize for missing these meetings.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Mr. Blankenship?
No comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hugan?
No comments.
Mrs. Jones?
No comments.
Mrs. McGinnis?
Did I see where trick or treating is set for
Sunday?
31st, right, actual Halloween, right?
Yes.
Because I've had several people ask me, so I just want to confirm.
And how we got to that, Dwayne Burgess, sheriff, called me and he wanted to know if we can all stay kind of on the same page with the county and with other municipalities, so we're talking about.
Since it fell on a Sunday, people were wondering if it was going to be Saturday night, so just wanted to confirm. So thank you.
The board works also to move July 4th to July 3rd, so just want to let you know.
How about you?
No comment.
Sean?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Jane?
No, sir.
Mr. Gray? We're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? No. I heard them hang up.
Oh, okay.
We have majority.
Did we just violate something?
No.
Okay. She didn't do a roll call on the adjournment.
Okay, wait a
No,
minute,
actually,
Kenny. Wait a minute, Kenny, you're there, let's do a roll call on the agenda.
Technically, that is the only motion.
We do not have to. All right, we're hanging up, Ken, thank you guys.
German is not required.